there, it's Sue from slowideas.com. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Today I'm going to talk about my pattern organizing system. If you're like me and you've been sewing for any length of time, you've started to get patterns coming out of your ears. But you can get control of this problem and have a really nice organized pattern system. Stay tuned to find out how. Okay, are you ready to find out how I organize my patterns? Let's get started. Before we do though, I just want to say that if you are a person who collects patterns for their vintage or collector value, you're not really going to like this system. But if you're just a person who loves to sew a lot or a little, and you want to keep your patterns organized, then I think you'll really like this system. It's been working for me for well over 10 years, and I can't see myself going back to anything else. Okay, it's a two-part system. I have where my patterns themselves are stored, which is in this clear plastic box with all of the patterns organized by number. So I can always find what I'm looking for. The other part of it is my pattern binders, which live out here in my sewing area, which is adjacent to my living room. And it has all of the outside of the pattern envelopes, so I can take a look quickly. That's just a summary. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's say I've gone out and I've bought myself a bunch of new patterns. Yeah, I do this a lot. I love to have patterns. I love them for inspiration. I know I'm not going to make every pattern I ever buy, but I learn so much from reading the instructions on patterns, and I get inspiration for drafting my own patterns. So I justify having well in excess of 150 patterns just in this basket, bin, whatever you want to call it. So what happens when a new pattern enters my sewing space? Well, first it sits around in its envelope for a little while. While I think about it, I'll take it out, I'll look at it, but it starts to pile up. Usually when there's about 8 to 10 pattern envelopes kicking around, I will do some filing. And what I do is I will take all of the pattern pieces out and I will get one of these 9-inch by 6.5-inch envelopes, which I bought in a very large box of 500 a few years ago. I split it with my friend Marie, and I don't know if she's using them up, but I am using them up. But it was actually a pretty affordable purchase from an office supply store. So I get this envelope here, and I will write the name of the pattern company, the pattern number itself, which is the most important part, what it is, and any notes that I've already made. Like if I've already used this pattern, then I'll make some more notes. But the instructions and all of the pattern pieces go in the envelope, and they will go in a big pile. Usually I will be refiling old patterns that I've used, and as well as filing some patterns that are new to me and have to get into the system. So those go in there. The pattern envelope itself, this is where you vintage pattern collectors are going to be all sad face. I will cut this with my paper scissors. I will cut across the bottom, across the right side, and I'll cut off that nasty little tab at the top that only serves to get in the way. And flip that open. Yes, I cut it earlier. Flip that open, and you have an easy sheet to see what's going on and space on the back for making notes. Then I get a sheet protector and I slide the pattern envelope into the sheet protector. Some of the manufacturers for the big 4 patterns are a little bit bigger. McCall's patterns are notoriously too big to just open up and put into one of these. I always find myself having to trim off bits or like fold them up and try to squeeze it so that they'll actually fit into the envelope. Sometimes I just hack bits off if I'm going to not need them anymore. So then I will open up my pattern catalog here, and I will go to the section. This is an outerwear, so this is sort of my secondary patterns binder, and I have all of my patterns organized by the type of pattern they are. So this book has my evening wear, because I don't actually make evening wear all that often, even though if you've been following me on Facebook for a while, it may look like that's all I ever make. But seldom do I actually make an evening dress, unfortunately. Boys and men's patterns, and then here's my outerwear patterns. I also have costumes, swimwear, pajamas, activewear, and stuff like that in this. So within the section, the patterns are organized by number, even if they are different manufacturers. So yeah, I will just go to where this would fit in numerically. So it's after 55. Let's call it 5500, and before 6657, and this is 6360, so pop that open, flip this in, and Robert's your father's brother. There we go. I keep extra sheet protectors in the front pocket of the book. I am going to run out of those eventually, but so far so good, and I'm good to go. Now, when I want to make something, that's when these get really handy. I have a catalog of all of my patterns by type. And in this book, which has my tops and pants and stuff like that, it's actually organized by woven fabric. So there's woven fabric dresses, knit dresses, woven fabric tops, knit tops. Pants are all in one. There's cardigans and jackets. And then there's skirts. And then there's a section for coordinates, which are those patterns where there's like a top and a bottom and you don't want to sort of separate it. I don't have very many of these, but this is like, there's a complete look in that pattern and it's hard to pin it down to just one sort of thing. I don't actually buy a lot of those kinds of patterns, so it's not a big section, but yeah, things are top and bottom together. So all I have to do when I decide I want to make a pattern is look to the pattern number, which is either on that side. This is a McCall's and it's been cut off. I look over here, 3008. So I go into the pattern bin and ta-da! Numerically, I can pull out pattern number 3008. And on that, this is an interesting thing. So it'll tell me what it is and also the last time that this pattern got used. And I've just learned that this particular pattern was used for my friend Sarah's wedding dress, which she made, not me, but apparently she borrowed the pattern from me. So that's kind of cool. A bit of a blast from the past. But some of the other patterns I have, like if they've been used several times, then I will have notes on them. Where's one I've used several times here? So Butterick 6026, for example. I've actually got a little sketch of what it looks like on the envelope, which I've added. I've noted when I made it, and I've noted some of the pattern alterations that I made. Often when I'm making things, I will also write down what my body weight was and what some of my measurements were. So if I go back later and I want to make this pattern again, I want to see what size it was cut out for. So if you are a pattern tracer, you're not going to have that problem. But I am team cut that shit out, and I cut out my tissues. I know that's evil, but I do, especially for commercial patterns, because I hate tracing patterns. So yeah, I will put what body size I was on the envelope so I know if I'm going to be able to use this pattern again or if I need to make adjustments to the sizing on the pattern. It'll tell me if I did a full bust adjustment, and often I'll put little notes, like in this case, I shortened the legs by 5 inches. The crotch curve needs a little more space. I did a Hong Kong finish on the seams. I adjusted or retraced the crotch curve, and I drafted jeans pockets. So all of the extra pieces that I might have drafted or something like that, this is a pants pattern I use all the time, 8751 from Vogue. So this actually has butcher paper pattern pieces added to it. So this is like one jam-packed envelope. When I'm done, I will often just grab a little bit of tape and just tape down the back so that it doesn't get all flippy aroundy and give me paper cuts when I'm reaching through my envelope. So it's done. It's time to do some filing. So I'll just go back in here, find the right number position, and slide it in. Bingo, it's done. I have also started making notes in the pattern catalog. You think I would have done this sooner, but I've only just recently started doing this. If something was, for example, a really popular pattern and I love doing it, I will put TNT on there. And I am starting, there's very few in here, but I'm starting to keep swatches of the fabric that I've made these patterns out of. And I can also make some notes on the pattern as well, just so that I remember when I go back to using a pattern, what happened the last time I made it. Some of these, I would say a good half of the patterns in my pattern collection I've never used, but I've got them and I love it. So the final thing I want to talk about is cleaning out my pattern catalog. Every so often, it's time for a style upgrade. And what I'll do is I'll go through this book and I will pull out the pieces that I just don't like anymore. I never got around to using. They're out of style. They're not classic enough to be something to keep around for references. And I will then pull the fabric or the actual pattern out of the collection, and I just tape the cover piece to the front of the envelope, and then I'll usually just drop it off like at a high school for their sewing program. So yeah, that's my pattern organizing system. It's been working really well for me for 10 years now, 10, 12 years, goodness knows how long. And I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy organizing your patterns too. Take care and stay safe out there.